ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we will continue from where we left. This is the ninth chapter of second canto, sloka number 14. स्त्रियत्र रूपिण्य उरुगाय पादयो करोति मानं बहुधा विभूतिभिः प्रेङ्कं श्रिता या कुसुमकरानुगैर्विगीयमानान् प्रियकर्म गायति. The goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. So we are seeing the descriptions of the Vaikuntha Loka as described by Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma in the beginning of creation, so he was clueless of what to do, and then he was given the first words, that is the tapa. So then he performs austerities for a long time, and then the perfection of his austerities, so he is able to get the darshan of the Lord, and also he is able to get the darshan of the whole spiritual planets, the Vaikuntha Lokas, and that is, is described here. And specifically, like here, it is mentioned about how he is seeing that the Lord is being served by the goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, and that's the scene that is brought about here. Text 15. ददर्श तत्र किल सात्वतां पतिं श्रियपतिं यज्ञपतिं जगत्पतिं प्रबलार्हनादिभिः स्वपार्षदाङ्घ्रिर्परिसेवितं विभुम्. Translation. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of Goddess of Fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Arhana, his immediate associates. So this is a nice sloka where it is mentioned as Satvatam Patihi. So Satvatam means those people who are devotees are called as Satvatam. And then Shriya Patim, so that is like the husband of goddess of fortune, Yajnapati, the master or the proprietor of all the yajnas. And then Jagatpatim, so the Jagannath or the Lord of the universe. And then he's served by Sunanda, Nanda. So Nanda and Sunanda are the very celebrated associates of the Supreme Lord, and wherever the Lord goes, his associates Nanda and Sunanda actually follow, and then Prabala, Arhana, and all these people. So these, like all these, wonderful servants of the Lord, were serving the Supreme Lord over there. So in this, we can see that different pati. We can actually put The Lord is the master of the devotee community and master of everything that exists. So specifically also we can highlight and we can tell, okay, Lord is master of this also, Lord is master of that also. So that is very nice, a categorical and specific glorification of the Lord. Mm. So we can say in wholesale, like, no, he is the master of everything. But then, no, to also say that specifically, it makes it very personal and makes it very nice. So generally, we also try to see that when the Lord is to be described, rather than saying as Lord as just the Lord of everything, no, we can also say that He is my Lord. No, He is my Master. So that is very, very personal and very specific, to our context. So that actually increases our intimacy with the Lord. Okay. Purport. When we speak of a king, it is naturally understood that the king is accompanied by his confidential associates, like a secretary, private secretary, aide-de-camp, ministers, and advisors. So also when we see the Lord, we see him with his different energies, associates, confidential servitors, etc. So the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, the Lord of all the devotee sects, the Lord of all opulences, the Lord of sacrifices, and the Lord and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation, is not only the Supreme Person, but also is always surrounded by his immediate associates, all engaged in their loving transcendental service to him. So one of the things we should understand is these immediate associates of the Lord, they are not just random people. No, um, they are Lord's internal energy. And who are we? We are Lord's marginal energy. We, the living entities, are Lord's marginal energy. We can never become the personal associates of the Lord like Nanda, Sunanda, or the Radharani or the gopis and things like that. So we can never become like that. We can only aspire to become the servants of them, servants of the immediate associates or the servants of these immediate associates. So we can never become these positions are fixed. No, if you see anywhere in the Vedic description, so these positions are fixed. The principal gopis of the Lord is fixed. The mother and father of the Lord is fixed, and the personal attendants and personal associates of the Lord is fixed. The group of friends of the Lord is fixed. All these things are fixed. The immediate associates, the close circle of the Lord is completely fixed. No, they are not going to change, or no, we can never aspire to become like that. So, in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, even to try to become one of these personal associates is also like Mayavad. It's like Mayavad means I want to become Krishna. So it can also be like this, I want to become like this particular gopi, or I want to, get into that kind of circle. So that also is out of reach for us. It is, it is completely fixed. So, we can only aspire to become their servants. That's the position that we can have. X16. Mritya prasada vimukham drigasavam prasannahasa lochananam kiritam kundalinam chaturbhujam pitam shukham vakshasi lakshitham shriya. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. Okay? So Srivatsa, so that is chest is marked with the lines of fortune. Okay. Purport. In the Padma Puran, Uttarakanda, there is a full description of the Yoga Pita, or the particular place where the Lord is in audience to his eternal devotees. In that Yoga Pita, the personifications of religion, knowledge, opulence, and renunciation are all seated at the lotus feet of the Lord. The 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. The 16 energies headed by Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the first two doorkeepers. At the middle door, um, first two doorkeepers. At the middle door are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra, and at the last door are Jay and Vijay. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, uh, Sang, Sankukarna, and Sarvanetra, Sumukha, etc. The Lord's palace is well decorated and protected by the above mentioned doorkeepers. Okay, so here we see that the personified Vedas, they are present there, and all the energies that we are seeing, all the very powerful energies that we are seeing in this world, everything in their personified form. So they are present in the in the place or in the yoga pita or the place where the Lord gives darshan, or in the spiritual world. So everyone are there assisting the Lord in his activities. And here we see that the Lord has been advised by the Vedas. So why should the Lord be advised by the Vedas? No, they are present there. Here it's mentioned the four Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. So this is also a service. This is also a service. It is not that just because the Lord knows everything, no, he is just going to keep ordering everyone, saying, okay, you do this, like that. So the Lord also has very sweet pastimes. The Lord asks for advice from his dear devotees, and then the devotees, as a service, they also advise the Lord, and they know that everything is known by the Lord, but still, this is also a nice pastime of the Lord. Adyarhanishasanam astitham param vrutam chatukshodasha pancha shaktivihi yuktam bhagai swair itaratra chadruvai swa eva damam ramamanam ishwaram. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other significant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. So here, this various different kinds of energies that are mentioned, that is 4 in number, 16 in number, 5 in number, and 6 in number. So these are all different ways in which the the energies of the Lord is denoted. And let's see the purport, so it may be clear a little bit more there. The Lord is naturally endowed with his 6 opulences. So specifically, he is the richest, most powerful, the most famous, the most beautiful. He is the greatest in knowledge, and he is the greatest renouncer as well. So this we have a very nice sloka which is explaining this particular point. That is Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasya, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagayos, Chaiva, Shannam Bhagaitangana. So that is these are the 6 opulences. So we get a list for the 6. What is the 6? This one energies that he is having. So now we need to get the list for 4, 16, 5, and 6. This ones. So now next the thing, the 4 has been described here. He is served by 4, namely the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and ego. So this is the 4, this one. So this is in one way of putting everything in a material creation, into 4 classification. So that is Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and ego. And he is also served by the 16, namely the 5 elements, that is material elements, Panchabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, sky, and 5 perceptive sense organs, or we also call it as knowledge acquiring sense organs, or jnana indriyas, jnana indriyas. So that is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And then 5 working senses, we call it as karma indriyas. So that is hands, legs, stomach, the evacuation outlet, and the genitals. These 5 are considered to be the karma indriyas. And apart from that, there is mind. So if we calculate this thing, it becomes 16, right? So the Panchabhutas, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, then Jnana Indriyas are 5 and Karma Indriyas are 5. So total, 3 into 5 is 15, plus 1 more extra, that is mind. So that becomes the 16. So this is the list of 16 that is mentioned. So we saw 6 is the 6 opulences, Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Shriya. So these 6 things, and then Jnana, Vairagya. So those things comprise to be 6. And then in the list of 4, we saw Prakriti, that means sum total of, no, Prakriti means the nature, Purusha means the Lord, or sometimes Purusha is also called as a living entity in the material context. And then Mahatattva is the sum total of material energy, and then ego is the false ego or the material identification. So this is the 4 one, and then the 16 one is Panchabhuta, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, and mind. So that is like the 16 list. And then the 5 includes the sense objects, namely form, taste, smell, sound, touch. This is called as the Tan Matra. So Tan Matra means the senses are there, and the knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 perceptive senses it is mentioned here. So the knowledge acquiring senses, the counterpart of the knowledge acquiring senses for the eye, the counterpart is the form, right? And then for the ear, the counterpart is the sound. And then for the nose, the counterpart is the smell. For the tongue, the counterpart is the taste. And then for the skin, it is touch. So these are called as the sense objects. In Sanskrit terms, we call it as Tan Matra. So Tan Matra means the sense objects, or that which can be perceived. So the senses which can perceive are called the Jnanendriyas, and the objects that are not to be perceived are called the Tanmatras, right? So all these 25 items serve the Lord in material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. So the significant opulences numbering 8, the Ashtasiddhis attained by the yogis for temporary overlordship, are also under his control. But he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. So this is a very nice, this one. All the Ashtasiddhis, what people try to get by the way of tapasya, so the Lord has it in full. He has complete, all the Ashtasiddhis. So now, that is why he is called as the Yogeshwara. Yogeshwara means he is the master of all the yogic powers. A yogi may get some siddhis, but then the Lord is the Yogeshwara. He has all siddhis in full. In fact, in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a nice description of how to attain these siddhis. If somebody wants to become smaller than the smallest, then he should meditate on the Lord, how he is the smaller than the smallest. We should meditate on the Lord's feature of that. If somebody wants to become lighter than the lightest, so then he should meditate on the power of the Lord's potency to become the lighter than the lightest. And then if somebody wants to get the prapti siddhi, that means not to get anything and everything what he desires, so then he should meditate on the power of the Lord, how he is able to get anything and everything as he wishes. So in this way, by meditating of Lord possessing that particular siddhi, we also get that kind of siddhi. So this, anyway, devotees are not looking for siddhi. So, but it is described in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. So this is a particular way in which the this particular thing is got. Anyway, so the Lord is the Yogeshwara, so he has everything in full. The living beings, by severe penance and performance of bodily exercise, can temporarily attain some wonderful power, but that does not make him Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is unlimitedly more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being. And he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. He is above all. No one is equal to or greater than him, nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in any of the above powers by any amount of penance or yogic demonstrations. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immensely charitable disposition, he can award some temporary powers to the yogis because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees, who do not want anything from the Lord save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is so pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service. right? So this yogis who are trying to get some siddhis, no, they are like what is that? Duryodhana mentality. So Duryodhana was, he was telling Bhishma Dev, no, you are not fighting to your capacity. No, you are showing soft corner to the Pandavas. That is why they are not killed still now. So you have to kill them tomorrow. Otherwise, like no, I don't believe you to be trustworthy. So then Bhishma becomes very very like what is that affected by this kind of what is that accusation, and he prepares five special arrows. No, that is to these five special arrows. With this, the Pandavas will be killed. So then the Duryodhana says, okay, no, you have made this. You give it in my charge. Let me have this five arrows with me. So, and I'll deliver it to you, in the morning when you go to fight. So here, this is a lack of trust on the part of Duryodhana that he wants to have, like this is created, these arrows are created by Bhishma Dev, and then he is taking the he's taking the vow that I will use these arrows and kill the Pandavas. And Duryodhana is saying, no, okay, what's the guarantee that these arrows will be safe? You give it to me, I'll have it. So that's the way the yogis, they are not having sufficient faith on Krishna's protection. Krishna is telling, I will protect all the living entities. But then, the yogis are saying, okay, no, if you can give us also some power, no, we will have some power in our possession. So what if, if we want you in the urgent time, and if you are busy with something, no, so they have that kind of this one towards the Lord, no, let us have power, with ourselves. So, they don't have sufficient trust in the Lord. So that's the position of the yogis. No, a devotee of the Lord, he is not looking for siddhi. Why? Because he knows that my Lord is going to protect me in any situation. What's the need for me to get some powers and keep it with me? No, why should I do that? No, the Lord is there. He is very merciful, and He's always ready to protect his devotees. So whatever way He wants to protect, let Him protect. I don't want to take anything from Him, right? So this is the way of the devotees of the Lord. So text 18, Taddarshana Lada Paripluthantaro Hrishyat Tanu Prema Barashru Lochana Nanam Apadam Bhujam Asya Vishwasrug Yat Paramaham Shena Patad Higam Yate. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in His fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus, in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love. He thus bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection for the living being, Paramahamsa. So here, Paramahamsa is one who is in the highest rung of devotional service, or highest platform of devotional service. And we tell this self-realization or Atma Sakshatkar. So here we see that Lord Brahma is having such a thing that he is personally able to see the Lord. He's personally able to see the abode of the Lord, his associates, Lakshmi ji serving the Lord, and everything, the whole spiritual vision he is getting. So to find the Lord, Atma Sakshatkar or self-realization, many times, Srila Prabhupada mentions that self-realization is not possible without God realization. So, and he gives this example in recent readings in some of the purports we had read, that if we want to see ourselves, so in the darkness, we cannot see ourselves, we cannot see the world around. But then if sun rises, when we are able to see the sun, then we will be able to see ourselves, then we will be able to see the world around us, right? So this is the position of self-realization. So self-realization means it is God realization. And here we see, Brahma is personally able to see the Supreme Lord. That means he is able to see everything in the whole creation in proper perspective. He is completely self-realized, and he is called the Paramahamsa, a person who is in the complete self-realization. Purport. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that this great literature is meant for the Paramahamsas, Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam, right? So, Vedyam Vastamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Molanam. So, this Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for the Paramahamsas, those people who are actually, they will relish the Srimad Bhagavatam more. So when we are trying to read, we are getting purified, of our contaminations. And when the Paramahamsas read, they'll be in supreme bliss. The Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very relishable for them. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for persons who are completely free from malice. Paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Matsarata means like malice or envy. No? Matsarya, Matsarata. So nirmatsaranam means like one who's free from envy. No? For him, the Srimad Bhagavatam is so very, very relishable. And people who are envious, for them it is Bhavaushadi. So this also we in one of the sessions we were discussing this particular shloka. So that Nivritta Tashay Rupagiyamana Bhavaushadi Shotamano Biramat. So for those people who are Nivritta Trishna, so that is those people who are completely not affected by anything material. So for them, the Srimad Bhagavatam is relishable. And for the people who are conditioned in this material world, for them it becomes Bhavaushadi. This becomes the Aushadi or medicine to cure the disease of material existence. Right? So in this way, we can see that the Srimad Bhagavatam is effective for everyone. And specifically, this is literature that is meant for the Paramahamsas, but all of us can relate with the Srimad Bhagavatam. So either relishing it or taking it for our own purification, or it is also mentioned Manobhiramat. So that means people who are completely not even trying to practice Krishna consciousness, for them the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam becomes Manobhiramat. So they become nice entertainment. There are so many places the stories of Bhagavatam are enacted as dramas and put as or even people go and hear Bhagavad Katha and things like that. So it's quite relishable even for common people, right? So even the Paramahamsas take pleasure in it. The people who are trying to become purified, for them Srimad Bhagavatam becomes like the Aushadi. And for people in general, so they even get nice, wonderful stories from Srimad Bhagavatam, which kind of gives them nice entertainment. So Srimad Bhagavatam relates with everyone in their own way. So in the conditioned life, the malicious life begins from top, namely bearing malice against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first envy that we have is towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why He is God? Why not me? Why only He is served by everyone? Why only He is having all these powers? No, why not me? So that's the original malice, and that extends everywhere. Sometimes we see that, why only this devotee is able to do all these things? Why not me? That is also extension of the envy that we have towards the Supreme Lord. The personality of Godhead is an established fact in all the revealed scriptures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the personal feature of the Supreme Lord is especially mentioned. So much so that the last portion of the great literature was emphatically stressed that one should surrender into the personality of Godhead to be saved from miseries of life. Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Unfortunately, persons with impious background do not believe in the personality of Godhead, and everyone wants to become God himself without any qualification. This malicious nature in the conditioned soul continues even up to the stage when a person wants to be one with the Lord. And thus, even the greatest of empiric philosophers speculating on becoming one with the Supreme Lord cannot become a Paramahamsa, because the malicious mind is still there. So the malice, that is why the Lord is the all-powerful, why He is the only Lord, why not me? So that the pinnacle of that is, I want to merge in the existence of Lord, I want to be the Lord, right? So the impersonal liberation, or the Mayavadis trying to merge into the existence of the Lord, it is the result of this envy. This is the result of this envy. Why He is the Lord? If He is the Lord, maybe like I will also merge in His existence, and in that way I will also call it as Lord. So somehow or other I want to be the Lord. So that's the problem over there. So the Mayavadi's liberation, or the Mayavadi's destination of being one with the Lord, it is even more worse than the the ordinary materialist in this world. No, ordinary materialist is still no better than no having an idea of merging in the existence of the Lord. So that's kind of very very malicious kind of this one, very envious kind of a desire. Hmm? So therefore, the Paramahamsa stage of life can be attained only by those who are fixed in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. This Bhakti Yoga begins if a person has the firm conviction that simply by discharging devotional service to the Lord in full transcendental love can elevate him to the highest perfectional stage of life. Brahmaji believed in this art of Bhakti Yoga. He believed in the instruction of the Lord to execute tapa, and he discharged the function with great penance and thus achieved the great success of seeing the Vaikuntha Lokas and the Lord also by personal experience. No one can reach the abode of the Supreme Lord by any mechanical means of mind or machine, but one can reach the abode of Vaikuntha Lokas simply by following the process of Bhakti Yoga, because the Lord can be realized only through the Bhakti Yoga process, right? So this we had discussed many times, but still it is very, very important, especially for our chanting and also for our own personal growth in Krishna consciousness. So here it is mentioned that the Lord can be understood, or the darshan of the Lord or the Vaikuntha Lokas. It is only possible by the process of Bhakti Yoga. And why only by the process of Bhakti Yoga? Because the process of Bhakti Yoga can melt the heart of the Lord. And it is even more deeper, this particular aspect, if you see, we can get the glimpse of the Lord or his abode only if the Lord desires, no, only if the Lord sanctions. And Lord is not sanctioned, Lord is not moved by any mechanical process. So when we perform bhakti, when we are completely dependent on the Lord becomes moved, and only by the grace of the Lord we can actually get the darshan of the Lord, or get the perfection of our devotion and things like that. So this is the only process that can actually move the Lord, that can actually melt the heart of the Lord. No other process can actually melt the heart of the Lord. So if we want to attain the Lord, by force it is not possible. Hiranyakashipu wanted to have the Lord by force. No, he wanted to fight the Lord by force. He wanted to find out where this Lord is there. And he couldn't able to find it. No, he couldn't able to find the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So when Hiranyaksha was killed by, Hiranyaksha was killed by Varahadev. So then Hiranyakashipu became very, very angry. Where is this Vishnu who killed my brother? Where is he? Where is he? He was like searching like anything. And even great yogis who are doing tapasya for millions of years, they are not able to get the Lord. And what is like, this Hiranyakashipu, he will just get it like that? It is not possible. It is only by the process of Bhakti Yoga, a person can attain the Lord, right? So otherwise it is not possible. And why only Bhakti Yoga? Because Bhakti Yoga can melt the heart of the Lord. So only by grace of the Lord we can attain the darshan of the Lord, or attain the perfection of devotion, right? So that is why the Bhakti Yoga process is very powerful. So Lord Brahmaji was actually sitting on his lotus seat. Okay, so just before going to this, I was talking about the chanting, right? So when we are sitting down to chant, sometimes like we are able to see that we are able to focus on the names of the Lord, and sometimes we are not able to. And all the same techniques, same time I'm sitting down early in the morning, and then after a nice bath, I'm with fresh mind, and all sorts of preparations and everything we can do, but sometimes we'll be able to succeed, sometimes we'll not be able to succeed. So we should understand the our consciousness, or even the bhakti that we are able to feel in our consciousness, is is a grace of the Lord, is a blessings of the Lord. I cannot just forcibly get it. So when I am in the mood of begging that, my Lord, if you are merciful upon me, please give me some taste in chanting the names of the Lord. So when we are there in this kind of mood, so then there is a possibility of Lord giving some taste to us. But if we are thinking to get the Lord by our own personal endeavor, so why should I beg him? Why should I even think of anything of this thing? I am there, this chanting mantra is there. Let me just start chanting, and let me just try to chant, and I have a good concentration power and things like that. So in Bhakti Yoga, all these things will not work. So we have to beg the mercy of the Lord, and we have to be in that kind of position, right? So the Lord is so great, and we are so small and insignificant. And what not sinful activities we have not done. No, we are the taking birth in the material world is also itself is a sign of great sin. And no, in such a condition, we are expecting to get a feel of the Lord in our consciousness. So that's a very very lofty claim. It is like a beggar is coming and asking, like, no, can you give me 1 crore of rupees? No, that's like ridiculous. No, so our asking that, may I have Lord in my consciousness? It is more ridiculous than that. No, so we are so insignificant and we are so sinful, and we want to have Lord in our consciousness. And it is possible only by intensely begging to the Lord. No, intensely begging to the Lord. The Lord is very favorably disposed. But then if we become little proud, no, if a beggar is proud, if a beggar comes to us and say, like, no, hey, like, no, you're no, can you not give something? Like, no, why are you going mindlessly like this? So if a beggar is asking something like this to us, so then we will say, like, no, kya, even if he asks for 1 crore, we will not even give anything. Like, no, just get lost, we will just drive him away, right? So then we can imagine about the Lord. So he is willing to give himself. So he's willing to give himself. So we should have some kind of humbleness and some kind of eagerness to possess the Lord. And I really want you, my Lord. Like, no, and it is a lofty claim that I'm asking for. It's something very very big I am asking for. No, you please be pleased with me, and then no, you accept me as one of your devotees, right? So in this way, we can actually beg the Lord, and then in this kind of mood, if we can approach the holy name of the Lord, it'll be very nice. No, it'll be very very nice. Anyway, so we will continue. Lord Brahmaji was actually sitting on his lotus seat, and from there, by executing the process of Bhakti Yoga in great seriousness, he could see the Vaikuntha Lokas with all variegatedness, as well as the Lord in person and his associates. Following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection by following the path of Paramahamsa as recommended herein. Lord Chaitanya also approved of this method of self-realization for men in this age. One should first, with all conviction, believe in the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and without making efforts to realize him by speculative philosophy, Jnana Yoga, or one should prefer to hear about him from the Srimad Bhagavatam and later from the text of, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and later from the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should hear such discourses from the person Bhagavatam and not from professional men or from the Karmi or Jnani or Yogi. This is the secret of learning the science. One does not need to be in the renounced order of life. He can remain in the present condition of life, but he must search out the association of a bona fide devotee and hear from him the transcendental message of the Lord with faith and conviction. That is the path of Paramahamsa recommended herein. Amongst various, okay, so this particular section wherein it starts from one should first with all conviction believe in the personality of Godhead. No, this one page that we read now, it is completely translation of a sloka in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. No, which again is Lord Brahma is speaking over there, right? Jnane prayasa udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiyavata sthane stito shrutigatam thanuvan manobir ye prayaso ajita jito apitais trilokyam. So this is a particular sloka where Lord Brahma is telling that Jnane prayasa udapasya, no, that means giving up the endeavor by speculative philosophy or knowledge, right? So without making efforts to realize by speculative philosophy, right? And then one should prefer to hear about him from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, later from Srimad Bhagavatam, and one should hear such discourses from the person Bhagavatam and not from any professional men. So this is also there. Jnane prayasa udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya varta. So one should hear from the mouth of sanmukaritam. So that means hear from the mouth of devotees. And this process is very, very powerful process. And here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that is a secret of learning the science, of devotional service, right? And one does not need to be in the renounced order of life. So this is also mentioned in the sloka. Sthane sthito. No, you are a householder, just be remaining there. No, don't even try or endeavor to change your material position or any other thing. Wherever you are there, no, whatever position you are there, just adopt this process of hearing about the Lord, from the mouth of pure devotees and from the great literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam. So, what will you get? What is the gain if you do this thing? No, Sthane sthito Shruti Hanuman Manobir. So with the like with all conviction, with body, mind, and words, if we can hear the message of Krishna consciousness with complete conviction, so then ye prayaso, by this endeavor, ajita jito. No, that means we can the Ajita, or the personality of Godhead, whose name is Ajita, that is, he is unconquerable. He becomes Jita. He becomes conquered, right? So by this kind of process. So that is how powerful is the process of hearing about the Lord, from the mouth of pure devotees and from the literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So, okay, then so that's the path of Paramahamsas recommended herein. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that sloka from 10th canto. So from this we can understand Srila Prabhupada's purports are non-different from the Vedic scriptures. So Srila Prabhupada is like trying to explain these various concepts, from various slokas. We can actually map every single line of Srila Prabhupada's purport to some sloka in Srimad Bhagavatam or Vedic literatures. That's how authentic and very amazing the purports of Srila Prabhupada are. Right? So the next sentence is starting with this. Amongst various holy names of the Lord, he is also called Ajita. The same thing, like I was mentioning. So Ajita Jita, or one who can never be conquered by anyone else. Yet he can be conquered by the Paramahamsa path, as practically realized and shown by the great spiritual master Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma has personally recommended this Paramahamsa Pantha in his own words. This anyways, like Prabhupada is quoting that sloka again here. Jnane prayasam udapashya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam vavadiya vartham sthane stitah shruti-gatam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso ajita jito api lokyam. So Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of emphoric philosophical speculation aimed at merging in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu, a saint, who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement in his social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy, even though you are ajita or unconquerable. So that is the path of Paramahamsas, which was personally followed by Lord Brahma and later recommended by him for attaining perfect success in life. So this hearing process is very, very powerful, very powerful. So that is what we should do while chanting also. While chanting, it is nothing but hearing, actually. So when we are chanting, so the primary thing that we are doing is hearing the names of the Lord. So every day, we are supposed to have at least 2 hours of chanting and hearing the names very, very attentively. Text 19. Tam priya manam samupashtitam kavim praja visarge nija sanarhanam babhasha ishat smita sochi sagira priya priyam prita manakare sprishan. Okay. And seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him as worthy to create living beings, to be controlled as he desired. And thus, being so much satisfied with him, the Lord shook hands with Brahma and slightly smiled, addressing him thus. So you can see that personal interaction with the Lord. It's really amazing. Somebody, if we can get an opportunity to have a touch of the Lord and then have a handshake with the Lord, is really, really very thrilling, actually. So Brahma had that opportunity. Purport. The creation of the material world is not blind or accidental. So, people say that, okay, this has all come from some big bang and then some theory of evolution and things like that. So somehow by permutation and combination and survival of the fittest and so many different theories they actually put forward. But here it's very nicely seen This creation has not just come about by some permutation and combination or by some accident. It is well thought out, clear plan of the Supreme Lord, executed by a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, that is Lord Brahma, right? So, okay, let's continue. The living entities who are ever conditioned or Nitya Baddha are thus given a chance for liberation under the guidance of his own representative like Brahma. The Lord instructs Brahma in Vedic knowledge in order to diffuse this knowledge to the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls are forgetful souls in their relationship with the Lord, and thus a period of creation and the process of dissemination of Vedic knowledge are necessary activities of the Lord. Lord Brahma has a great responsibility in delivering the conditioned souls, and therefore is very dear to the Lord. Brahma also does his duty very perfectly, not only by generating the living entities, but also by spreading his party for reclaiming the fallen souls. So we are coming from, I think Prabhupada is also mentioning the same thing. The party is called the Brahma Sampradaya, and any member of this party to date is naturally engaged in reclaiming the fallen souls back to God and back home. The Lord is very much anxious to get back his parts and parcels, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. No one is more dear than one who takes the task of reclaiming the fallen souls back to Godhead. Right? So this is very, very important. No one is more dear than one who takes the task of reclaiming the fallen souls back to Godhead. So we have to try and endeavor to get every single living entity back to the spiritual world. Right? So in fact, when Prahlad Maharaj was asked by the Lord, no, what do you want to do? Like, no, like, what do you want? You tell me. So then Prahlad Maharaj actually tells that I don't want anything for myself. No, when I see all the living entities in this world, they are suffering, no, without Krishna consciousness. No, I feel that, no, I have to stay back in this world till the last person, no, remains in this world. I want to preach the message of Krishna consciousness to everyone. And then I want to get everybody back to the spiritual world. So that's the mood in which the parampara is. And here, no, the first task of Lord Brahma is to create facility for all the living entities who are waiting to get the bodies. No, the previous pralaya, like everything was destroyed, and the living entities are waiting, no, to get the new bodies. And Lord Brahma is supposed to create the facility for that. And when all the living entities get their bodies, everybody are materially conditioned. And no, Lord Brahma is not only just managing the material world, he is also through his sampradaya, through his parampara, he is also making provision for the preaching of Krishna consciousness and trying to make these conditioned souls surrender to the Supreme Lord so that they can actually get back to the spiritual world. Right? There are many renegades from the Brahma Sampradaya whose only business is to make men more forgetful of the Lord and thus entangle them more and more in the material existence. I don't know what is renegade means. A person who deserts or betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. A person who behaves in a rebellious, unconventional manner. Okay, so there are many people who are away from this Brahma Sampradaya or the proper authorized parampara of devotion service, and whose only business is to make men more forgetful of Lord and thus entangle them more and more in material existence. Such persons are never dear to the Lord, and the Lord sends them deeper into the darkest region of matter, so that such envious demons may not be able to know the Supreme Lord. Anyone, however, preaching the mission of the Lord in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord, and the Lord, being satisfied with such a preacher of the authorized bhakti cult, shakes hand with him in great satisfaction. Okay? So very amazing, this one. Okay, so we have less time. I think next sloka can be read. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Tvayaham Toshita Samyak Veda Garbhasya Shikshaya Chiram Britena Tapasa Dushtosa Kuta Yoginam. The beautiful personality of Godhead addressed Lord Brahma. O Brahma, impregnated with the Vedas, I am very much pleased with you with your long accumulated penance, with the desire for creation. Hardly am I pleased with the pseudo mystics. So this is like Lord is personally saying, his position that I am very pleased with your penances that you have executed. Purport: there are two kinds of penances, one for sense gratification and another for self-realization. So sense gratification also, everyone takes penance. Everyone tries to work very hard and take troubles for getting their sense gratification. And other kind of penance is for the self-realization. There are many pseudo mystics who undergo severe penances for their own satisfaction, and there are others who undergo penances for the satisfaction of the senses of the Lord. For example, the penances undertaken to discover nuclear weapons will never satisfy the Lord, because such a penance is never satisfactory. By nature's own way, everyone has to meet death. And if such a process of death is accelerated by anyone's penance, there is no satisfaction for the Lord. The Lord wants every one of his parts and parcels to attain eternal life and bliss by coming home to Godhead. And the whole material creation is meant for that objective. So it's like the whole material creation is like a school or a college where the Krishna consciousness is taught. And then, the whole goal of this whole creation is so that the no conditioned living entities can practice Krishna consciousness. So that's the main objective, no? And Brahma underwent severe penances for that purpose, namely to regulate the process of creation so that the Lord might be satisfied. Therefore, the Lord was very much pleased with him, and for this, Brahma was impregnated with Vedic knowledge. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to know the Lord and not to misuse the knowledge for any other purposes. Those who do not utilize Vedic knowledge for that purpose are known as Kuta Yogi, or pseudo transcendentalist, who spoil their lives with ulterior motives. Right? Okay. So we have come to the end of the time. So thank you very much for joining. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, from the purports of Srila Prabhupada, and we are trying to apply and contemplate on these things what we are trying to read. So it will be it's very, very nice that all of us are coming together every day and spending this time in a very nice way. And today we got a very nice incentive also that Srila Prabhupada was citing from the 10th canto, how this process of hearing about the Supreme Lord is so powerful that it can just conquer the Lord. It can just conquer the Lord, and Lord can become pleased by this endeavor. So this is the most powerful process of devotional service that we are trying to do. So anyways, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.